I'd like to thank my patrons for all the support. Thank you guys. Welcome to the Twisted Tentacle Inn. I'm your innkeeper, and today we're going to be talking about some tips for learning how to paint miniatures. So I first got into miniature painting because of D&D. I got some miniatures and I was interested in customizing them and kind of putting my own spin on them. I was really bad when I started, and everybody that starts with miniature painting starts off very bad. You could start off a little bit better if you do some homework and kind of read some tips on some of the basics, but for the most part, you will progress and get better with time. And it's something that for me is very relaxing. It's very zen-like. I love painting miniatures. And if I ever want to just kind of sit and relax and just not think about anything, it's an awesome experience for me. And for everybody, it's a little bit different. The end result is also something that's awesome. When I look at a miniature that I'm very proud of. So if it's something that you feel like you might be wanting to get into, even if it's just to put your miniatures on a tabletop and play with them like I do, then this may be a good starting point. I am planning on doing a video series on some of the basic techniques that you can learn, so this video is kind of just an overview and general tips to help you get started. I am in no way, shape, or form a professional miniature painter. I just paint as a hobby. I find it fun. So, if you want to really get deep into it, there are definitely better YouTube channels for that kind of thing. All right, so one of the main things that I think I can recommend is to look at the miniature that you're painting and determine which part of the figure you want to draw the most attention to, and then put the most effort into making that look good. If you have a miniature where there's a certain portion of it where most people aren't really going to look at very much, there's no need to put a whole lot of emphasis or work into that, at least initially. Later on, if you want to be a perfectionist, totally do that, but mostly focus on the parts that you want to put the most attention to. The next tip I can give is learn how the colors work. Acrylic painting is interesting because some colors work a little bit differently than others in how they interact with the surface, how they interact with each other, and how they interact with other colors. Also learn about contrast, how colors look when put beside other colors, what colors complement each other and which colors conflict with each other. That's also something that is a skill that you'll learn with time, but a skill that you can initially at least learn the basics of. There's a YouTuber called Vince Venturella who has an entire series on the color spectrum for acrylic painting, and he goes over each color. He demystifies the color red, which a lot of people find to be very difficult to paint, and goes into yellow and blue. He has a video on each color and goes deep into it, the history of the color, how it works with acrylic paints, how it interacts, what colors complement it. I highly recommend that series if you're interested in really deep diving into the colors. And I do recommend that you do. I'll post it in the video descriptions if you want to check it out. The third tip that I can give you is that mistakes will happen. So don't be scared to make mistakes. And in fact, don't be afraid to experiment. Experiment with your miniature. If you make a mistake, usually it's never something that cannot be corrected. So play around with it. And sometimes it may help you realize or discover something new or different that you didn't know before, and it will help you improve as an artist, as a painter. So definitely experiment. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. The next tip I will give is that patience is a huge virtue in miniature painting. I'm not a very patient individual. I'm kind of the type of person that likes instant gratification. But when it comes to my miniature painting, I've learned that you're just not going to finish in one day. Unless you're doing a quick speed type of thing, let it go through several days, and you'll find a lot of the time that certain things will come to you as you sleep on it. So if you're having doubts about a color scheme, sleep on it, paint it out, sleep on it, and then the next day you may already have come to some clarity as to what exactly you want it to do. So have patience. Realize you won't be done in one day, or maybe even 2 days or 3 days. Just give it the time that it needs in order for it to be done. The next tip that I think is very useful is understanding that spending a lot of money on painting supplies and tools and this, that, and the other, or expensive paints, expensive brushes, none of that is going to make you a good painter. What's going to make you a good artist is practice and just doing the thing, right? If you're just getting started in this and you're not sure if it's for you, don't go and spend a ton of money, because that's not gonna make your project look any better. Buy a few things, spend a very small amount of money, whatever you need to spend to just get started, and then once you start to build up your skills, then go ahead and spend the money if you want to. If you think that you want to take this a little bit more seriously, or kind of invest in it so that things look even more detailed. So those are just a few tips that I wanted to give out to people who are just starting out with that hobby. I'm going to be doing an entire series on the specific techniques, including priming, base coat, washes, shading, dry brush, highlighting, layering, glazing, all that stuff that you might not even know what I'm talking about. I'm going to go into it. Each one's going to have its own video. This series will probably be about 12 videos long. So hang in there. They're all going to be kind of short compared to some of my other videos on this channel, because I want to keep it simple and I want to keep it easy for you. And while doing this series, I'm going to be painting this one miniature. It's a bigger miniature, which are generally a little bit tougher to paint, but I wanted a bigger miniature because then it would be easier to photograph, to show you some of the things that I'm going to be working on here. Now, I want to emphasize I'm not a professional painter. I don't do competition. I don't even do display pieces per se. I have a couple of display pieces, but for the most part, I paint table ready, battlefield ready miniatures. So don't expect to learn to become a extremely, super professional quality painter by watching my videos. But I think I can pass on some mistakes that I've made and pass on some things that I've learned throughout the years after painting hundreds of figures, and give you some pointers that might be able to help you out getting started and learning how to paint. I'm going to post the video links to the rest of the videos in the series as they're released in the video description for each video, so that you can have easy access to them. And if you have any other questions, feel free to post them down there in the comments down below. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.